Hello, this is Kent Sobran, State Director of AARP Iowa. Happy New Year. We're preparing for the 2015 session. Welcome back. This is the first of two-part broadcasts that we're going to do to set up AARP Iowa's priorities and significant work that we hope to accomplish in the 2015 legislative session. With me, Anthony Carroll, our Associate State Director of Advocacy. He's our man on the hill, our boots on the ground, day in and day out up the state capitol. For those of you who are interested, we do have a publication of our state priorities in health and long-term care security, financial security, and livable communities, which is available to you. We're going to focus today on the role of caregivers and long-term caregiving because that happens to be the number one priority that's come to us through our members, and it'll be the number one priority we're working on this state legislative session. You know, we're at the focus of a great age wave, and more of us will be caregivers and will be in need of caregiving. And we know that there are some policy changes, some policy initiatives that we'd like to bring forward to the legislative session to help, if you will, elevate this issue to the state policymakers, to the executive branch, to the governor and others. Anthony, tell us a little bit about the background of, who are these caregivers? And
Sure.
what are they doing here in Iowa as we prepare for not just the state legislative session, but for the next decade or two?
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because it's even bigger than just a legislative session. As an organization, we're really focusing, we're calling this initiative I Heart Caregivers because of their importance. And their importance and the role they play, as you mentioned, in long-term services and support. Certainly it's a topic we've talked about here of the State House policies that we work on as it relates to long-term care services and support. When we think about that, we often focus on the paid side of that, if you will, and certainly the paid side that we think and we know from our members is the most important on building a system to support people where they want to stay and receive long-term care in their homes and communities. But to that end, if you think about that, 2/3 of that care being provided in the homes and communities on the long-term care side is being provided by family caregivers who are unpaid. In fact, actually, Kent, 91% of that care in the homes is being provided by family caregiver at some level. Spouse, a child, especially daughters, but daughters and sons, perhaps a daughter-in-law, son-in-law, helping them out with some basic services, things that you know since a child, whether it be doing dishes, meal preparations, or things increasingly, Kent, medical or nursing tasks, more complex tasks.
Well, do these family caregivers, as we've surveyed them, have they said, oh, we're getting adequate training for this?
Well, yeah, we did a survey. The first thing we wanted to know is what's the reality check of what they are doing, Ken? And the reality check is about half of them are doing tasks like medical tasks, managing medications, including intravenous and other injections, and doing wound care. So there's some pretty heady tasks that family caregivers are doing right now. In fact, 78% of those family caregivers who are doing medical tasks are doing medication management, including injections and intravenous. So again, this is the work that's already being done across the country. We know this. So to your point and question is, are they adequately prepared? What we know is only 70% of them don't have a professional coming in to the home. So on the flip side, 30% do have a professional come in, but 70% are really on their home from the time they leave the hospital. So yes, it really is incumbent to make sure they know what they're doing, especially for some of the most complex tasks that they're already doing, Ken.
Well, it seems to me that step one is collecting some stories, hearing the stories from our members about their experiences either as a family caregiver or receiving care from the family caregivers. Do we have something in place where we can collect some of that?
Yeah, we as I mentioned earlier, it's iHeartCaregivers.org. You can actually go directly there, or go to our AARP.org website, and you can go into that iHeart Caregivings, because that's a place where we're already receiving some really amazing stories of the work that caregivers are providing around the state of Iowa. It's some really compelling stories, some heartbreaking stories, because it is really a labor of love that they're doing. And so we'd love to hear from you, the stories you have. If you go to iHeartCaregivers.org, you can share your story. And you can also just receive resources. There are some information resources, how to think about the work you're already doing, because we know this is a priority and focus. We know it's increasingly a part of the work. In Iowa, Kent, for instance, there are 540,000 Iowans who provided this family care at some point during the year, just in 2009. So again, that's just the unpaid family caregivers, 540,000 Iowans that were doing that. If you think about that from the economic side of things, that's $4.1 billion that they are providing in the services that they're providing. Again, not paid for, but that's, if you paid someone to do it, it'd be $4.1 billion. So amazing work being done in our state of Iowa. And really, Kent, what this is about is trying to figure out how we as an organization can help them do the work that they're already doing so well.
Well, thanks, Anthony. And in brief, what we need, step one, is to hear your story. So iHeart Caregivers, or go to AARP.org. Search for the Caregiving Resource Center. That has so many of those resources. For those of you who need, I think you might be preparing to become a caregiver, or you're at that threshold, we have a wonderful publication called Prepare to Care, which is available here at our Iowa office, so you can contact us here at the Iowa office and ask for this publication, Prepare to Care. Anthony, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Kent.
Part 2 of this, we'll talk a little bit more in detail about a legislative proposal that we have in front of the legislators for 2015. Again, for Anthony Carroll, this is Kent Sovereign. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Thank you.